Welcome to the Hollywood Raw YouTube page, guys. We're happy to have you here. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave us comments, do all the stuff.
What are you waiting for? Let's go. I got a drug addiction to feed.
Welcome to the Hollywood Raw podcast. I'm Dax Holt. Over there is Adam Glyn, who spent his morning out in the sunlight getting to see what it's like in New York right now. How are you, buddy? What's the weather like out there?
The weather's getting good. The sun is out. I don't have to wear a jacket. I don't have to wear the layers. You don't have to suffer for like what I do. But the weather is good. I have so much gratitude for good weather because it goes by so quick. You take it for granted. Here, it's like you have to soak it in as much as possible. I try to have like a long start. So the weather's good. How you doing, bud?
You know, you choose to live in shitty weather. I just want to remind you of that.
Yeah, I don't choose to. I have no choice. This is where my work is. Trust me, if I could choose, I wouldn't be living where I'm living. You know, would you like to live where you are at? Like if you could choose,
Yes,
you'd like
I love it. It's beautiful. I love it here. Are you kidding me? The only downside is traffic, but other than that, I love California. I love where I live in California because I'm in Orange County, not LA. LA is a total shit show all the time.
Yeah. I
like to go to LA if I have an event or something up there, but I don't want to live in LA. And so I love my neighborhood, my neighbors, all of that stuff is great.
Yeah, I love visiting LA. Living in LA, like I did it for a little bit. It gets weird at times. It's very I don't know. When I mean cold, it's not a warm city. However, California state is incredible. California as a state is just a really, really cool state. There's so much to do. How often do you guys go up north in California? Do you even ever go up north? Do you ever go to Carmel or anywhere?
Really? No, I mean,
there's no reason to, I guess, but it is nice. It's very cool.
We've done some trips up to like Santa Barbara and stuff like that, but
yeah.
The last up north we went was Yosemite. But no, we don't. I guess when we go on trips, we normally are like leaving the state versus going up the state.
It makes sense. There's just so much to do in California. It's just a very, very unique city. You know what, Dax? Weird question. Do you ever go to Tijuana?
I haven't been to Tijuana in a very long time. I used to go a lot more. We'd go down there. So there was like this, I want to say like a podiatrist, but it was more just like a foot clinic where you'd go and they'd like shave all the skin off of your feet. I know that sounds really weird, but all the dead skin off your feet, you'd go over the border. It was super cheap and like dope. And we used to do that, but I haven't been down there. God, this sounds so weird saying that out loud. But I haven't been down in a while. My neighbor goes down literally like twice a week because he has a company down there. So it's really easy to get back and forth. We just don't do it.
Yeah, me and my buddy, he lives in your neck of the woods, and I always say, one night we're gonna go out and just have like a rager in Tijuana. I don't know if it's the safest thing to do these days, but
probably wouldn't advise for it.
Dax, one more random question: have you ever actually? And this is so random and so stupid and so ridiculous, but I'm just so dumb. Have you ever met someone from the cartel?
I'm pretty sure if I have, they didn't inform me of it.
Okay.
But I don't know when I would have ever come across someone in the cartel. Yeah, I don't think so.
My cousin's part of the cartel. We don't talk, though. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know how it works. All right, what are we talking about? We're 4 minutes into the podcast. God. We're talking about California State. What's today's episode about, Dax?
We are talking about horrible men in the Hollywood industry, guys that have been wrapped up into some of the biggest scandals we've ever seen while covering news stories as journalists in Hollywood.
Is it only men? Only men we're covering.
Today we're talking about three guys who are the biggest pieces of crap. And I want to jump into what their history is, the allegations, where they're at now, like that whole situation. Because once you really dive into it, you realize like Hollywood's a pretty messed up place. It really can be. And some of the predatory nature of some of these guys who have gotten the taste of power and what it's done to them. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And it was funny because it started off as like this big old long list of like, well, this guy is a piece of crap, and now this guy. And then I started to realize, like, there's no way we're going to be able to fit all these people in, because some of these guys we have to talk about for like at least 10 minutes each.
Yeah, for sure. So we got
that's
this
what we're
list
going to
of
get into.
Hollywood assholes. Now, I mean, we're going to get into these guys because I'm curious if you have had a personal experience when dealing with these people. Meaning, have you ever met them personally? Because we can always say they're assholes, they're dirtbags, but, from our personal experience, because I always do that. And some people are like, oh, no, they're really nice. I was like, well, my personal experience, they were terrible to me. Before we get to Hollywood Dirtbags, Men Edition, I want to read a review. Because I want to read a review. And when I mean I read a review, I mean you're going to read a review, Dax, because I'm not a good reader. And the reviews really help us on the algorithm. So let me explain to how podcasts work. We actually get a lot of downloads. However, the best thing that benefits us for these podcasts, for the chart, is when you guys leave a review and give you 5 stars, because that's how they kind of see that people are engaging with your podcast. It's a very weird thing how these podcasts work. So if you go to the Apple Podcast icon, you put in Hollywood Raw, you go all the way to the bottom, you can say a few kind words and give us 5 stars. And if you do that, we'll actually read your review live on air. It's waiting for us to shout you out, see if we say your name. It's really fun. We do it every week. Dax, do you have a review ready for us?
I do. This one comes from Mixie Bove, 5 stars. It is titled "The Gossip You Didn't Know You Needed." Gossip you didn't know you needed, delivered from a no-fluff, straightforward kind of way from your two best bros at happy hour on a Friday night. At first, you might kind of hate Adam, but now I think I love him. Join the Hollywood Raw fandom. I mean,
Very
listen,
funny.
I'm still waiting to start liking Adam. I fucking hate him too, so don't feel bad. Then you guys, we're all in this camp together.
I get it. I'm just, dude. I'm such a. It's so random what I do and I'm just a fucking guy. Yeah, I'm basically a FedEx driver that drives around and tries to interview celebrities all day. It's just very weird. I get it, but thank you for the review, Dev. It's very nice, very appreciative. Keep the reviews coming, Dax. Let's get into our first Hollywood dirtbag. We've ran into a few. Not everyone is famous. There's a lot of dirtbags in Hollywood. A lot of them will start calling you all the time, and then they kind of stop calling you, and then they stop picking up the phone for you because they knew they screwed up. We've done that. We've dealt with that a lot in Hollywood.
Yep.
I mean, we actually dealt with. I think we should. I don't mind saying it.
Nope.
We got.
I don't know where you're going with this, but I'm a little nervous.
No, it was a guy originally in the podcast when we kind of were first kind of getting going. A guy who kind of.
I'm not going there.
Okay, you didn't touch us. You didn't touch us.
Let's get into our first dirtbag.
Okay, who was our first dirtbag?
All right, first dirtbag in the list of Hollywood dirtbags, the worst guys in the business. His name is Adam Glyn.
True. The listeners already know. Tell us someone they don't know. No, yeah, of course.
Well, they're going to know this name too, but his name is Harvey Weinstein. We have to talk Harvey Weinstein. He tops this list of one of the worst guys in Hollywood. When we were really starting to do some research, there were a lot of names that when we were covering a lot of his story, the scandals, the lawsuits, I had forgotten how many women came forward to talk about Harvey Weinstein. I mean, the list goes on and on with A-list actresses, people, producers in Hollywood, women that aren't famous, but their names got brought into the mix. I mean, so ridiculous that when you say there's smoke, there's fire. No, this guy had fucking a forest on fire with how many things came out about him. You mean between Salma Hayek, Rose McGowan, Gwyneth Paltrow, and that's just a couple names among dozens of women who have come forward with allegations ranging from rape to sexual harassment, all at the hands of Harvey Weinstein. And so, listen, the guy is currently behind bars right now.
But here's the thing, is Dax, before...
Yeah.
obviously Harvey Weinstein got arrested, and obviously he was found guilty. But before, did you ever hear rumblings of him being a dirtbag? It wasn't like something we weren't surprised by this coming out by any means, right?
So I think what was kind of crappy about this whole Harvey Weinstein situation was that for years it was like people knew he was a dirtbag, right? Like there was always rumblings in Hollywood. There were people that would say stay away from him. To the fact that like I'm not an actress in Hollywood, and I even heard the rumblings of Harvey Weinstein and how he just wasn't a good guy. But yet you would see him, at the award shows, hanging out with the biggest stars in the world. So you almost started to question, is my intel wrong? Is it not true? Is he okay? Because like he's surrounded by the most beautiful women in Hollywood and these A-list actresses and the biggest heavy hitters in Hollywood. So like, if he's that really bad of a guy, why are all these people hanging out with him? And so when the story started to break and the dam broke and all the stories started to flood in, it was like, yeah, I could have saw this one coming a long time ago. What about you?
Yeah. No, I'll tell you a story that I've said to you a bunch of times, and old listeners may have heard it, new listeners may have not heard it, so I'm going to repeat the story. But I mean, everyone knew what kind of guy he was if you're around the industry. I mean, even when you watched on Entourage, you saw they had a character sort of portraying Harvey on the show and not as a good guy. It wasn't like he was just sort of a nut job. My personal experience of dealing with him, I never saw him be a nut job. However, I knew people that worked for him. I'll say, dude, this guy is legit insane. Like insane. And I don't think people consider it, remember, but Obama's daughter was interning for Weinstein for a little bit. And I remember hanging out with the Secret Service. So Harvey Weinstein's office was right next to the Greenwich Hotel, and I would hang outside the Greenwich Hotel often. And as we would wait outside the hotel, we would hang out with the Secret Service. They were waiting for the Obama's daughter. They would talk to us. They wouldn't tell stories about Obama's kids, but they're like, yeah, we're not her personal security. We're not her butlers. We just have to like kind of follow her to make sure nothing happens. And it was like very unique. And they knew stories about Harvey. Like, yeah, this guy is nuts. Now I did the same.
Isn't that crazy though, to think like, again, I'm surprised Obama would allow his daughter to work in this office.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if hearing all the things that I knew, that would be a hard decision to let my child work at this office. Granted, there probably wasn't a lot of interaction between actually Harvey, who was it, Malia?
It was...
Or Sasha?
I forget which one. I think it was the older one. Because I think she didn't even go to college for freshman year. I think she took a year off and was starting to do that. I could be wrong, but I'm just trying to think back. However, here's a story where I get to repeat myself. Actually, no, I'll tell you a story. I met the driver of Harvey Weinstein. Never said this story. And he used to tell me that Harvey, when he would get in the car, he would make him go through stop signs, go through red lights, like just go, go, go. And the shit he would say to him. And this sounds so, Dax, what I'm about to tell you is going to sound so insane. And to the audience, it's going to sound so insane. But like, I'm going to say a story that I've never said before to you. And it's going to sound so ridiculous, Dax, to you. And I know the audience listening is going to say, dude, this story is just so insane. So the driver used to tell me that when he was driving Harvey would make him go through red lights all the time. Like, go, 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 go. And he would like hit him, like in the back of his head. He would hit the guy and basically call him, you piece of shit, and just say, he would say something like, I would F your wife and stuff like that. Like horrible things to him. But the guys were so dumb. They're like, whatever, just let him do it. And apparently he was hired a company that would work for him. But these were like, the company would only make these two guys do it because they're the only two guys they could trust and the two guys they knew they could handle dealing with Harvey. And he was just a nut job. Like he would just do crazy stuff. Now, apparently he had what he would do with women is he had the office right next to the Greenwich Hotel, but some of the girls he would allegedly hang out with, he would bring him to this hotel that was maybe about 5 blocks away, and like you'd always take a room out of that hotel. I saw a video of Harvey during a meeting where he started like rubbing. Did you ever see this video? I don't even know if it ever got out. I remember someone was trying to sell the video. And again, I don't recall, but it was a girl trying to sell the video or just trying to show a video where it was a meeting and Harvey comes behind her and starts rubbing her and stuff. And I don't know if this is part of the lawsuit, but it was just really awkward and weird and inappropriate. And
I don't know if I saw that.
I don't know if the video ever got out, but also I just got lost in Harvey Weinstein because there was so many people coming out. But here's a story that I used to do is, it used to be a joke of me and the paparazzi. When Harvey would hang out, would be standing outside with a girl outside the building, and it was usually like a young actress. I'm not too young. I mean, like a modelish type girl. I'd walk up to him and say, "I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Weinstein. I'm the biggest fan. Your movies inspire me. Thank you for changing my life, blah, blah, blah." And he'd turn to a nice guy, "Thank you so much." I'd say, "No, thank you." And I'd make him look so good in front of the other person. And me and the paparazzi, like, dude, how does this guy never catch on to you just messing with him? And I did this so many times where I would just kind of kiss his ass in front of these girls, like, "Oh my God, your movies inspire me." Now looking back, I'm like, oh, that was sort of crazy. But I don't know. I was surprised when he got in trouble, but I was also not surprised because I was almost like to the point where Harvey, where I felt like he was like allowed to do what he did. Like it was like, this is just the industry. I really didn't know because I'm not really in the industry. I am and I'm not. It was just so like understood that this guy is just an insane person and a dirtbag.
Yeah. No, I was going to say that was Malia Obama, by the way, that when you were talking about earlier. And I guess the Obamas did come out later and say they were disgusted by all of the allegations that had come out about him. So they made it seem like they had no idea, which I'm sure to put your daughter in that situation, you would have to have no idea. But like, why would I know, but they wouldn't? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the part where if I'm hearing all these rumblings about what a piece of crap he is, how would they not have known something or had any indication that he was just not a good guy? But I would say, we go through some of the allegations that have come forward about him over the years, starting with Rose McGowan, because she was one of the first people that really came forward, accusing him of raping her by performing oral sex in a hotel room at the Sundance Film Festival all the way back in 1997. She was 23 at the time and had just appeared in the Scream franchise movies. She later reached a $100,000 settlement with him. But where it really gets interesting is he allegedly offered her $1 million for a further non-disclosure agreement to just stay quiet, which she declined. And that's why she's become one of the most vocal accusers, which I love that she didn't take the payday to stay quiet. She was like, nope, screw you. People need to know about how terrible you are. And so essentially lost out on $900,000. But on the flip side of it, probably really helped generate the steam that this case needed and was able to dethrone him of being, one of the most powerful people in Hollywood that was preying on actresses and people all over. You remember Ashley Judd was also a really, really big name when it came to the Harvey Weinstein case. She says that he asked her to go to a hotel room under a guise of just like a business meeting, but appeared in a bathrobe and then asked if he could give her a massage or she could just watch him shower. Tell me one woman in your life that wants to watch you shower. No woman. All right. So let's just get that out of the case, that don't ever ask a woman to watch you shower. They probably don't want to watch you shower.
Yeah.
She refused and says that she got revenge. That he got revenge by trying to damage her career. I know that there was I think it was Peter Jackson had come forward saying that he removed her from a casting list as a direct result of false information provided by Weinstein. So it really derailed her career. She did sue him in retaliation, but the court later dismissed her sexual harassment suit. But her defamation claim, I don't know where that ended up. I feel like it got trumped by so many other cases that I don't know if I ever heard the conclusion of that one. Mir Sorvino, also a big name. She was harassed in a hotel room allegedly back in 1995, saying that it started with massaging my shoulders and then I guess he made her feel really uncomfortable, and then tried to get more physical, kind of just chasing her around. So that one's where that one ended. Do you remember, who was it? Salma Hayek. Salma Hayek, also one of the main actresses in this whole Weinstein case, apparently turned down repeated sexual advances from him while making the movie Frida. And that was in like 2002. She just said that he would threaten her, saying that, if you basically don't do what I'm wanting, I'm going to kill you, and don't think I can't. I feel like it's just more evidence over and over and over again by all these women that have come forward. Like, how did this not break sooner? Do you think that it was because Hollywood almost just accepted him back in the day? Like, this was just a part of dealing with Hollywood and dealing with these super powerful men?
Yeah, I think it was sort of accepted. I think it was just sort of known, and people just did not say anything. It was just sort of like, it's just part of the industry. Does it make it right? Absolutely not. Now, like, people like Gwyneth Paltrow had a great story that, she had an issue with Harvey Weinstein, and at the time she was dating Brad Pitt, and Brad Pitt actually defended her and really defended her, which was pretty impressive. People think about Brad.
What happened was Weinstein asked her to give him a massage in a hotel room. I mean, it's like literally the same story over and over again. After casting her in that movie Emma back in 1996. She was only 22 at the time, by the way. She refused. He screamed at her for a long time, and then she told him, or I guess what happened was she told Brad Pitt, who she was dating at the time. He then threatened to kill the producer if he did anything like that again, because Brad was already super famous at the time. So he had, the guts to go up to this guy and say, F you do that, I'm gonna kill you. Which I just love that he came to her defense. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, very cool. Now, the one thing I was surprised that didn't come forward were the women who actually did sleep with him. I should say that, obviously it's a very serious thing, but I think it was kind of interesting that the women who he definitely succeeded quite some bit. There was definitely some women who did sleep with him and got roles and got parts. I'm surprised none of those women came forward and said, I did it. I felt terrible. I felt humiliated.
No, you keep in mind, there was the 2020 rape conviction, and that was, women who weren't like big famous people. I think that's the difference that you have to realize, is that there's women out there who they're super famous, so their names got the headlines because, oh, he asked me to massage him. Oh, he touched me inappropriately. And that got the attention. But then there's women who didn't have a big name that were truly, truly victimized by him, but they didn't get as much attention. However, the 2020 rape conviction was overturned recently. Do you remember this? We covered this 2 or so weeks ago, that was a huge deal, that the rape conviction got overturned. However, he's going to still remain behind bars because he was convicted in 2022 of rape in Los Angeles. And that one, he was sentenced to 16 years in prison. So even though the 2020 rape conviction was overturned, the 2022 one keeps him behind bars. And so I don't see him ever getting out. The dude's old. He's in he's got terrible health. He's going to end up dying in prison at some point.
Actually, the first time I met him with Ryan Gosling. It was at the lobby of the Trump Soho Hotel. And I remember just seeing Ryan Gosling go in. I was like, all right. And Ryan Gosling was, his biggest movie at the time was probably the one with Denzel Washington, the football movie, the Disney one. You know what I'm talking about. It's when Denzel Washington's the coach. Yeah, Friday, whatever that, not Friday Night Lights. You know what I'm talking about.
No, I don't know.
Everyone at home is like, it's the Denzel Washington football movie. But Ryan Gosling wasn't as big actor as he is now.
Yeah.
And he was hanging out with Harvey Weinstein. Harvey was actually Harvey was nice to me then. I won't lie. But it's such an interesting how bad his health has turned since he got arrested.
Remember the Titans?
Remember the Titans was the movie.
I didn't know that was Ryan Gosling back in the day.
He was in the movie. And I met him with Harvey Weinstein, and it was in the lobby of the Trump Soho Hotel. It's no longer Trump Soho, it's the Dominic Hotel. But Harvey was nice to me. And you know what? He didn't look as bad as he does now. There's been a lot of big actresses that have slept with Harvey Weinstein. I just don't know which ones did. He's definitely succeeded. So,
yeah. And I was going to say, Angelina Jolie also had mentioned that she was propositioned by him. And her experience was so bad that she chose never to work with him again. And then this is one of the, I would say, most successful women in Hollywood. And that happened all the way back in 1998 too. So to think that her career, you got to remember, Harvey Weinstein was so powerful that he could take down a lot of careers if they didn't listen to him. So for her to go, nope, not working with this dirtbag, it's actually pretty impressive. But a lot of people, Uma Thurman had an incident with him. Heather Graham had an incident with him. Daryl Hannah had an incident with him. Rosanna Arquette. I could literally go on and on and on again about all these people that were victimized by Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah. Dax, by the way, who I met last night? And I'm mad I didn't put the camera on him, but I was like, no one even recognized him. And I was like, dude, this is the big billionaire. If I said to you a billionaire that has a famous yacht and he's huge, big celebrity in the music industry, what do you think?
David. Geffen.
No, David Geffen. I met David Geffen last night.
And?
Nice guy. Nice guy. But nobody recognized him. He was just waiting for his car on the phone, like his car, trying to find him. And I was like, dude, this guy's worth like $8 billion. He's like one of the most powerful people in the entertainment industry. And no one recognized him. I thought it was pretty interesting. As like the security's trying to help out like these other celebrities outside. I was outside a sporting event. Then no one helped him out. I was like, dude, this guy's like a huge star.
That's crazy.
Is he someone who would interest you? Like, oh, there he is. That's David Geffen. No.
I love that you're surprised by it.
Yeah.
I'm like, not surprised.
Yeah. No, all right.
Anyway.
Dax, who is another Hollywood dirtbag?
We got to talk about Bill Cosby. The fact that he went from one of the most beloved people in entertainment, being America's dad, to, becoming America's old creepo is really what it comes down to.
Drugging people. That's insane.
He really is. Like, talk about ruining your legacy. And I would say the same thing with Harvey Weinstein. Would have gone down as one of the most prolific producers in Hollywood, creating some of the biggest movies we've ever seen. And now you hear the name and you're like, ugh. And I would say the same thing for Bill Cosby. Like, the dude, he was all over our TV sets growing up and in the 80s. And now his name is associated with rape, drugging women, just being a nasty old man. And kind of crazy how it all happens. But if you remember, it was like mid 2004 when Andre Constand, I think is how you say her name, basically said that Cosby sexually assaulted her at her home. And that's really what started kicking off a lot of the investigations, the court hearings, everything. And I think if I remember correctly, I don't know about you, but it was like that first story that broke, I was like, what? Like, this doesn't sound like Bill Cosby. This doesn't sound like the actor, the comedian that we all love. Like, how could this be true? Were you the same way when that news first broke?
Yes, sort of. But I always knew he wasn't he just sort of sucked.
So you had heard stuff throughout the years.
No, I heard nothing about the drugs and the women stuff. I actually thought I didn't believe it, to be honest with you. When I heard that, I was like, yeah, right. There's no way Bill Cosby's doing this. I was never really a Bill Cosby fan, especially when he bought the rights to the Little Rascals, and then he just basically kept them off television. You know about that, right?
I don't remember.
That's not even true. There was always that rumor, and no one knows if that's even true.
I was like, I didn't hear that.
there was always that story, the rumor that Bill Cosby bought the rights to Little Rascals and kept the show off the TV because it made racial stereotypes. I used to love the Little Rascals. But also when it came to cursing in comedy, he would meet with comedians, tell them not to curse, and they're like, guys, but this is how I really talk. And then I met him once outside Sirius Radio. He was always old. I don't know. He was just never my cup of tea. But when I heard the story, the first reports of Bill Cosby, I was like, there's no way this is true. And then more and more people started coming forward. It was like, oh my God, this is insane.
And if you remember at the time, Bill had even gone on to like the NAACP awards, and he was trying to like fix his image and all this kind of stuff when the world just started like crumbling around him, and no one really believed him after, woman after woman was coming forward. I think it kind of started to evolve over the year. I remember Janice Dickinson had gone on the Stern show to say what kind of a creep he was, but then she later came forward claiming that he had drugged her and raped her, but she wasn't the only one. Like, numerous women came forward. I remember there was a woman named Linda Joy Traits. She was a former waitress. She said that in a Facebook post accusing him of drugging her and trying to drug her in the early 70s. Janice Dickinson at the time said that he drugged and raped her in 1982. This woman named Teresa came forward, and she was the 7th woman to accuse Cosby, and this is all by 2014, of sexual assault, saying that he drugged her and assaulted her in 1976. I mean, it was just like woman after woman. It's always interesting when these cases happen and you have, someone come forward, and then it's like the floodgates open, and you realize this is not someone who has done this once, twice, but you're looking at dozens of times because of the amount of women. It reminds me a lot of like Tiger Woods. Remember how it was just like every day there was a new name that had come forward? And again, a lot of Tiger Woods's were like consensual, outside of the marriage stuff, whereas Cosby's was, he drugged me, he raped me.
Yeah. Again, I didn't ask you though. Did you believe Cosby when the allegations first came up about him? What were your thoughts? Did you believe it? Because you were working at the time at TMZ.
So it wasn't that I didn't believe it. I was more shocked, like, well, how is this possible? Because it was so against his, or outside of the character that we thought we knew of Bill Cosby. He always came across as a good guy. And I bet a lot of people felt the same way when it was like all the Ellen stuff had happened. You viewed them in one certain light, and to hear all the stories in contrary of, where Ellen was like not a nice person to work for, all that kind of stuff. There was probably a lot of people out there that were like, no way. So same with Bill Cosby is, you start to hear the stories and you're going, I can't believe this is true. This is wild. But then as each person came forward, you go, yeah, clearly this guy was doing some dark crap behind closed doors.
Yeah. It was just so many random people coming, I wouldn't say random, but it was so many people kept coming forward talking about it. I actually think the most shocking one to me, I think it was Janice Dickinson, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, you got to remember, Janice Dickinson was like one of the most beautiful women in the world when she was the first supermodel up and coming in the world. And so, you can't look at it as Janice Dickinson today. You look at it as Janice Dickinson, back then. And why he would have preyed on her. And you remember Beverly Johnson also came forward. I think he was just had a fascination with beautiful, beautiful women and these models that were, on the cover of magazines. And he, unfortunately, took advantage of that situation. He was powerful, he was famous, and he had access to these women, but didn't do it the right way, didn't, court them and have a consensual relationship. He would drug them and rape them.
Yeah. That's the crazy too thing is like the drugging of it. Like, where was Bill Cosby able to get those drugs? You didn't think of those two things together, Bill Cosby and drugs. How did Bill Cosby get those drugs?
I didn't think of Bill Cosby and rape. I didn't think of Bill Cosby and anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought of Bill Cosby as like sweet old dad off a TV show that's super funny. Like, none of it like made sense at the beginning, and then it all the details started pouring through. And I mean, he ended up being convicted of rape, and basically, the assault conviction was first. There was a indecent assault conviction that ended up getting overturned, by the way, by one of Pennsylvania's top courts, and he was released from prison after serving 3 years of the 10-year sentence. And then he was convicted also on 3 felony counts of aggravated incident assault in 2018 for drugging and assaulting women back in 2004. But that ruling got him out of prison. But there's a lot of, unfortunately, with his case, there was a lot of women that came forward that it was just way past the statute of limitations. So it was more of, let me tell you my problem that I had with him, not that that's going to send him to jail, but that it qualifies this other woman who has come forward. Like, what she is saying, you need to believe her because this is what I dealt with him.
Dax, where does it now stand with Bill Cosby? Are we ever going to see him out walking in the streets again?
No, I think he's out right now. He's not behind bars.
No way. Bill Cosby.
Yeah. He was released from prison after 3 years of that sentence because the conviction was overturned. So that's why it's different. Like the Weinstein case, Weinstein is behind bars. Cosby is not behind bars, but I don't think you're going to see him out strolling down the street.
So I'm surprised. How are not photographers getting him there? There's some sort of glimpse of
because he's not out walking around. That guy has locked himself up in his house or wherever he's at. He's not going out in public. Would you ever go out in public if you've gone through all this stuff and the public hates you now?
Isn't that crazy? You're almost still in jail in your own home. It's like you're out, but you can't leave your place. However, I think people are curious what he looks like. I'm curious if he's standing, if he needs help, assistance, walking around in wheelchair. I only met him once, and I remember he was coming out the south side of Sirius Radio, and I think he talked to me like briefly, but he was moving very slow.
Do you remember he had even talked about going on tour again? I think like last year at some point he was touring with that, and I don't know if he did any shows, but he wanted to go on tour.
Yeah, I forgot about that. He wanted to get back out there, but I was like, I don't know if you could really show your face again.
Again, if you show up to his show and you're paying for a ticket, that money is going to him. So, like, do you feel good as a person giving him money knowing what he's done to so many women throughout the years? I don't know about that.
Well, I mean, think about the people that were paying O.J. Simpson to play golf with him, knowing that he wasn't giving any money to the Goldman family. He was just kind of taking that cash, which
pay me in cash so that I don't have to report it to the government, so I don't have to pay the Goldmans. Like,
but I wonder if some of that cash, if he gave that cash to his kids, if his kids saw any of that money, because his kids were so well documented. I'm surprised you don't see more people working on photos of his kids. Or I'm sure Daily Mail had to have sent a reporter out there to get photos of the kids. You want to see where the kids are at now.
I saw some photos at a certain point, but I feel like I haven't seen photos of the kids in a long time.
Yeah. Dax, who is another Hollywood?
By the way, when I say kids, they're grown adults now. They're not
they have jobs.
They're not 12-year-olds, so it's not weird to say they're kids, but like his children that are adults.
Yeah, they're not on his health insurance anymore. They got to get their own health insurance. Dax, who is another Hollywood dirtbag?
Oh, gotta talk R. Kelly. R. Kelly is one of the most legendary D-bags in Hollywood, so we can't do this list without him, because when you get into kiddie stuff, that takes you to a whole nother level of hell. That this guy is nasty, and I feel that it has really, years of talking about R. Kelly, and like, it all started. Do you remember back in like 1994 when he married Aaliyah?
Yeah,
that was the start. She was 15 at the time, and they got married. And it was like the secret ceremony in Chicago, and he was 27. Like, just think of that age gap. But she was 15, and I remember it was like the tour manager or someone that was involved with his stuff had gone and basically bribed a government official to give her a fake ID so that they could get married. Like, that's nasty, man. And he never really talked about it because she passed away in that plane crash back in 2001. But he never talked about it. She wouldn't talk about it. Like, neither one of them wanted to ever talk about this secret marriage they had. But it was clearly a thing. So that was kind of like the start of what is he doing? Like, why would he marry a 15-year-old? I think a lot of antennas kind of went up at that point. I remember that he got sued back in 1996 for emotional distress from one of his ex-girlfriends, that they had like a 3-year relationship together. And she would just say that they started having sex in 1991 when she was 15. So he clearly started showing signs of like, you've married a 15-year-old. Now there's a second person that said that you started hooking up when she was 15. And then that relationship ended when she was 18. So like literally the entire 3 years of their relationship was when she was underage, which is absolutely disgusting. I guess she went for like a $10 million damages payout, but accepted about $250,000 when the case was settled in 1998. And then it was like, okay, so now we got 2 women. Oh, in 2001, he got sued by a woman who said that they got into a decent sexual relationship when she was 17. So again, this was like an intern at Epic Records. And now this is the 3rd woman, well, I'm going to say kid, that has said that they were underage when they had some kind of sexual relationship with R. Kelly. So if your skin doesn't crawl, we're going to just continue to make it crawl even more. In 2002, he was sued by Patrice Jones, who was a Chicago woman who claimed he impregnated her when she was underage, and that she was forced to have an abortion. Montana Woods was sued by R. Kelly, alleging that he videotaped them having sex without her knowledge, and the recording was allegedly circulating. This was the one that was like the sex tape that people were trying to sell online. In 2002, in June, he was charged with 21 counts of making child sexual abuse videos involving various sexual acts. So at this point, I feel like his reputation was basically done. Like everyone was going, okay, there's been numerous cases come forward. Clearly, you are into some weird kitty shit, and you need to go behind bars. So anyway, I remember at that point he was arrested and accused of all of these enticing minors to participate in videos, and the charges relating to at least one girl. His arrest stemmed from a video that was sent anonymously to the Chicago Sun-Times later that year, and who then passed it on to the police. He did post bail, I remember that, for $750,000, and denied all the charges. But it took 6 years for that case to come to trial. Like, what a long time for these women, for their families, for everyone involved to wait for this thing. And if you remember, while they were waiting for this to come to trial was when he put out the Trapped in the Closet, all that whole album that was like, did really well, and he got all this like critically acclaimed stuff for it. And I remember the NAACP actually had started to like nominate him for an Image Award, and everyone's like, what the hell are you doing? This guy is literally awaiting trial for all this like kiddie porn, and you're going to give him an award for his music? Like, absolutely not. And if I remember correctly, they ended up taking it away. They didn't end up presenting it to him, but it just was so gross. He was then charged in I want to say 2004 with 12 counts of producing child sexual abuse images in Florida. In 2017, there was allegations of him being a part of like a cult where he was trapping 6 women in some kind of like sex cult. I mean, and then that spawned that whole really big TV show, Surviving R. Kelly. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember. That was just so dark. That documentary made you feel weird. Did you ever meet R. Kelly? Did you ever kind of? I met him once, Dax. So I had a game show called South of Wilshire. Thanks everyone for watching. And so I had this game show, and basically at the end of the show, we had to do celebrities where they had to read clues about themselves, and they would kind of disguise the person. You had to guess who the celebrity is, but the celebrity would give clues about themselves. R. Kelly was going to be a guest on the show. This was after everything that kind of like all the accusations.
Really?
And yeah, this was after
the producers of the show actually wanted him on the show.
They wanted him on the show, but there was like some rumblings of what he's done at the time. Again, this is roughly around 2015 2014. So,
yeah,
there were some weird things going on about him, but nothing. He was still out in the public. He wasn't arrested. He's been accused of some things that were kind of weird. So he read a few clues like, hey, I could fly. I believe I could touch the sky. He's reading clues about himself and people have to guess who he is.
Yeah.
At the end, I had to basically tell him each line. Can you say this? And he would look at the camera and say this. We did it right on the street. I give him a line. He would say that line. I give him a line. He said that line. And then at the end, I was like, would you mind saying this line? And the line was basically about him liking girls. I wish I knew the line, Dax. Oh my God. This is part of like why I should have just kept journals of everything. And yeah, I wish I just kind of.
Well, can you give me the
something about basically I wanted to read a line about him being what he was accused of, and he was like his guy was like, whoa, like we're not reading that. Like we are not reading that. Like it got really weird and uncomfortable. In fact, when I read the line, I remember like, hey, do you want to say it? Because I'm not telling you. This is what they wrote, and things got really weird. And I was like, no, don't worry about that. Let me take a photo with you real quick. And I took a real quick photo with him. But things were so uncomfortable with me and R. Kelly. And he was a big guy, too. Dude, R. Kelly was huge. So, but also very, like, dark. Like, very just strange. Remember his music videos back in the day? They were also, like, movies in itself. Just a very unique guy. I mean, he wanted to be looked at and seen as, like, an idol. Like, worshipped. And that's what he did with these women. I don't know.
Well, I think that's why like the sex cult, like, I don't think shocked a lot of people, but I remember all the families coming forward and trying to get their daughters out of the situation and cops showing up to the house. And then the women would be like, no, we're good. And then later, again, they're trying to like get out of the situation. I remember that documentary also led to more charges, of him because there was, I guess, a video showing him having sex with a 14-year-old girl, where he was charged in Chicago with 10 counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse, pled not guilty. I mean, the guy is just gross. He really is really just nasty person. And so he needs to be locked up for the rest of his life. I can tell you that he was sentenced to 30 years in prison for using his celebrity status to sexually abuse children and women. That was back in 2022. And then in February 2023, there was a Chicago judge that sentenced him to 20 years in prison, but ended up saying, and this one was about, because he was enticing minors for sex to produce child sexual imagery. But what he said, the judge said, was that he's already spending time in prison, but if that judge would have got the case before the 30-year sentence, the judge would have given him more than 30 years. Like, the guy deserves more time than that. He literally makes my stomach turn. Having a daughter and like thinking about someone like him being out on the streets for so many years with all this power and money and fame and could just lure these young children into his grasps is so gross.
Yeah, Hollywood is every industry has its dark parts, but Hollywood is something else, man, because it's just very unique. It's very weird and kind of takes your breath away. Like, as soon as I started getting involved and started seeing like things that are going on politically and some stuff that you have no control over, just like, it's wild that it exists. It's just so unique and such a random political industry that for me, it's the worst drug. I think for you too. Like, part of me feels like I'm so happy I got involved, and part of me wishes I never got in because I'm addicted to this drug. Do you have that sort of feeling on it?
Totally. I know exactly what you mean. I
just wish I never got involved because now I'm in it and now I'm addicted to it. And that's why you guys listen to this podcast, because you're addicted with us. We love Hollywood. All right, we talked a lot. We're going to get into some Hollywood dirtbags coming up. Also, we want to do some episodes, some Hollywood scandals. Thank you guys for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you guys like and subscribe. If you're listening, go to iTunes or Apple Podcast app. Give us a review. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We have a private Facebook group called Off the Record, where it's really cool, great community. We talk to us. We talk to you. Follow me at Adam Glyn. Follow Dax Holt at Dax Holt. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Guys, hope you liked that video. We got a lot more where that came from.
Hit that bell, like, subscribe, share with a friend. The
the best you can do to support us is really doing that, and we really need the money because we need hair gel.